first thing he saw wasn't real, but he didn't know that. The second thing sounded like a voice. He turned around. No one was there. Then he began seeing things that other people couldn't see, hearing things they couldn't hear. And slowly, he began losing the ability to trust his own mind. The terrifying part? This wasn't a scene from a horror movie. It was the result of something most of us do every night. Sleep. Or, more precisely, the absence of it. Because when the brain is deprived of sleep for long enough, it doesn't simply become tired. It begins to lose its ability to understand reality. And sometimes, it starts creating its own. In 1963, a 17-year-old named Randy Gardner became one of the most famous examples of what happens when the human brain is pushed beyond its normal limits. He stayed awake for more than 11 days. At first, he seemed surprisingly normal, but as the hours became days, his concentration began to collapse. His mood changed, his thinking became unstable, and his perception of the world began to distort. The longer his brain remained awake, the harder it became to rely on it. And Gardner's case revealed something terrifying. Sleep isn't simply rest. While you sleep, your brain is processing memories, regulating emotions, and helping separate what is happening around you from what is happening inside your own mind. Take sleep away for long enough, and those boundaries can begin to weaken. A shadow can become a person. A sound can become a voice. A thought can begin to feel like a memory. And a memory can begin to feel like reality. But Gardner's case was not the only warning. Doctors have documented cases of people who, after prolonged periods of severe insomnia, began experiencing hallucinations. They saw things that weren't there, heard things no one else could hear, and sometimes developed beliefs that felt completely real to them. From the outside, it could look like the beginning of a severe psychiatric disorder. But in some cases, when the person finally recovered their sleep, the symptoms began to disappear. The brain had not necessarily lost reality forever. It had been pushed beyond the conditions it needed to function normally. And this is what makes extreme sleep deprivation so disturbing. It doesn't destroy reality all at once. It slowly changes the way you experience it. First, you lose focus. Then, your memory becomes unreliable. Your emotions become harder to control. And eventually, you may no longer be able to tell whether something actually happened or whether your exhausted brain created it. But what happens when you don't just lose sleep? What happens when your mind is already trying to hide something from you? That is where Trevor Reznik enters the story. In The Machinist, Trevor Reznik hasn't slept properly for an impossibly long time. His body is deteriorating. His face is changing. His mind is exhausted. And the world around him begins to feel increasingly wrong. People appear, then disappear. Events happen, then seem to change. His memories become unreliable. And the more Trevor tries to understand what is happening, the deeper he falls into a reality he can no longer trust. At first, it seems like insomnia is destroying his mind. But slowly, the film reveals something more disturbing. Trevor isn't simply tired. He's running from something he has buried, something his mind has refused to face. And suddenly, the question changes. The question is no longer, what is happening to Trevor's mind? It becomes, what is Trevor's mind trying to protect him from? This is what makes The Machinist more than a film about insomnia. The sleep deprivation is only the surface. Underneath it, there is guilt. And guilt can be powerful enough to change the way a person experiences their own reality. Trevor's mind doesn't simply create random hallucinations. It creates a world around something he refuses to confront. The strange people, the paranoia, the impossible events, the confusion. They all become part of a psychological escape. Because sometimes, the mind doesn't protect us by showing us the truth. Sometimes, it protects us by keeping the truth just out of reach. And this is where the film becomes psychologically fascinating. The real science tells us that severe sleep deprivation can cause serious cognitive and perceptual disturbances. It can affect memory, attention, emotional control, and in extreme cases, it can contribute to hallucinations and distorted thinking. But the Machinist takes that real psychological danger and combines it with guilt. The result is a man who can no longer trust what he sees because the truth he is trying to escape is buried inside him. Trevor doesn't just want to sleep, he wants to escape. And the longer he avoids what happened, the more his mind creates a world he can survive inside. A world where the truth is hidden. A world where someone else can be blamed. A world where the worst thing he has ever done doesn't have to belong to him. But the mind can only hide the truth for so long. Eventually, the world it created begins to collapse. And when Trevor finally confronts what happened, something changes. The insomnia begins to lose its power. Because the thing keeping him awake was never just the lack of sleep. It was the truth he refused to face. Every night, your brain does something you almost never notice. It organizes memories, regulates emotions, processes information, and helps you understand the world around you. You wake up believing reality is stable, that your memories are real, that your thoughts belong to you. But remove sleep for long enough, and those boundaries can begin to weaken. A shadow can become a person, a thought can become a memory, and a memory can become an entire world. Maybe that's what makes The Machinist so disturbing. Not the fact that Trevor can't sleep, but the possibility that the mind can create an entire reality just to keep us from facing the one we actually live in. Because sometimes, the most terrifying thing your brain can do isn't make you lose your mind. It's make you believe that you still have it.